Minute delay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dreamhack Qualifiers. Bottom left side of the map, we've got our blue Protoss player, ShoWTimE.
In the top right, as the red Terran, it's Liquid Bunny.
And a quick shout out to Papa Mitch for that 20-month resub. That's a big resub number, sir. So you can't see it, but I am saluting you, sir.
Alright, so already starting off a little bit cheesy to get somewhat of an edge.
Yeah, but ShoWTimE is actually going to probe scout and find out about this pretty quickly. And unfortunately, there is kind of a clock where simply the mothership corresponding is when your Reaper cheese gets shut down. I would actually like to see Bunny do something really extreme, but again, we had this big talk before you entered the game, and in case someone's just watching the VOD of this, the TLDR is Bunny's not feeling hot about versus Protoss, and I think a lot of us agree that Protoss is a little imba in some instances of the matchup.
Sure.
Although I will still say, late game, I think Terran's actually got an advantage versus Protoss.
I think so as well. If it ever gets to that point where you can have consistent Liberator production, I think Liberators are actually too hard for Protoss to deal with, believe it or not. Certainly we saw some people actually just, for about a couple of, like 1 or 2 weeks, Protoss thought it was really stupid, actually, and now it's kind of reversed itself once again. But if you can't get the Liberators, it's very difficult with Protoss. Bunny goes for the cheese, and ShoWTimE does see the start of it. The follow-up is actually more important than just this initial Reaper, because sure, the Reaper gets there quicker and is a little more annoying for the Protoss, but this isn't supposed to end games. It's not really supposed to get that much, like a ton damage on either. Force out of Zealots.
Actually, so this is a small detail, but the Zealot getting a swipe on this Reaper is the difference of Bunny being able to go into the mineral line or not. It's full health now, so once you actually wrap around the backside, as we start seeing it's a little more aggressive. But that Zealot taking that first hit on that Reaper was huge.
Oh, this is very dangerous. He could be caught. He is caught, in fact.
I can't,
could try and go over the edge.
Yeah, if that Doodad wasn't there, it'd be a different map. He did not see the natural base. He's probably assuming.
Yeah, I think the timing on everything else told him the natural base was down.
But getting to so, dumbest that is, 2 probes almost feel worth it because of how difficult and how non-existent worker kills are for Reapers. It's just, again, you scout the Reaper, the Mothership Horse sees you, photon overcharge, you're dead. You don't even get to scout. Adept hits you twice, you're dead. You don't get to scout. So that Reaper getting a surprising amount done, is it worth the proxy?
I suppose, I don't know. Like I was saying, like the Reapers weren't they're not going to end the game. At most, they're going to get you a small lead if you really do get kind of that snowball effect on the probes, but it was the follow-up I was more interested in. Bunny going for that quick factory. Maybe he was going to go for a 1-1-1, but actually slapped down the command center, so held off on that starport for a little while.
Okay, very important thing just happened. Bunny canceling that second Cyclone. Bunny almost always goes 2 Cyclones, whether it's Terran, Protoss, or what have you. So
I like this animation.
Oh, Rita, I can't see that.
Stop! Hammer time! Dun 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 dun. Hit Rifkin on the head. Thank you, JTDC.
$5. Alright, after we're out of game, you have 1 bonk on me.
I'll sing the song too.
I don't like this hammer. Like, you seem to have no problem with this hammer. I really don't like this hammer. Like, I don't know. The impact hits me a lot harder than it hits you, it feels.
I got a stronger head.
You know what? You got. There's a lot of things to say about that, but yeah, okay, sure. But yeah, so go back to the Cyclone from Bunny. Go for the second Cyclone, I guess, at the delay and the cost of the Liberator. When we were in the lobby and I was kind of giggling about the sarcasm out of Bunny, we're kind of like, oh yeah, well don't worry, dude. All you gotta do is build a Cyclone, Kappa HD. I mean, like, I think Bunny knows that Cyclones are gonna be necessary, like a necessary evil, but they're not exactly the greatest thing to rely on. They will keep you safe in the early game versus Warp Prisms and such, but they will not get you ahead when it comes to the late game. Cyclones, Liberators, these are all pretty expensive, and it's costing him stim timing, it's costing him combat shields timing. I mean, Bunny is not going to get too much done with this Liberator, and he's fallen behind a lot because of it.
Right, so...
Actually, making some deal. ShoWTimE really late to pull that.
Yeah, that was a mistake. I lost 2 probes when he technically lost none. You know, you are right. They're delaying a lot of stuff to do a push like this. This isn't really a push. A harassment like this, but also defending against possibilities. I mean, that's really why you get the Cyclone, is because it is the better unit to defend against, like a War Prism attack or whatnot. Well, the alternative is that they don't attack you at all, except for their own little bit of harassment with Phoenixes or an Oracle, like in this case, and they just get a third base. So while you're defending against a potential like strong attack, thinking like, oh god, I have to or I'm gonna die, they're just like, okay, I'm gonna third base, and I'm gonna beat you the old-fashioned way, which is with a lot more units, not necessarily more OP units, and that's a little bit of the frustration for sure with Terran pro gamers too, is that they feel like they can't do much against a third base Protoss.
Yeah. I again, I don't want to touch too much on balance because there's a lot of this matchup that really it shifts heavily very quickly. Suddenly Terran's ahead, suddenly Protoss is ahead type thing.
Yeah.
But I do think one of the things that's safe to say is that it's a lot easier for a Protoss player to secure third base versus Terran than the other way around right now. And I think that's what causes a lot of frustration when it comes to getting to that macro game in the matchup.
Yeah.
But again, if Bunny can play macro versus ShoWTimE, if ShoWTimE isn't going to dedicate to some big attack early on, again, I give Terran a bit of an advantage in the late game. Liberators and Bio are really friggin' strong. You put like 4 Widow Mines underneath any count of Liberators, they're going to be good versus Stalkers. So it is a situation where I don't think Bunny is not going to win the matchup because the race is too strong. It's going to be really on the decision-making of both players to determine how that looks.
I agree. So while the third base is actually quite even with ShoWTimE's, it was obviously at the cost of the tech this time. So the majority of Heart of the Swarm was more about Terran getting, well, I guess Protoss was very different Heart of the Swarm too, so I shouldn't say that entirely. But of course, you know, you try and get maybe a quick greedy third base existed, but it was more about those medevacs and then harassing and attacking and constantly being the one putting Protoss on their toes, where right now with Bunny's build, he's letting ShoWTimE be very like comfortable where he is. I mean, I guess they're both kind of playing like a no-rushed, 20-minute game here, but who's that going to favor more? I mean, hard to say. ShoWTimE is going to get a lot of production. He's going to start harassing with War Prisms, but maybe Bunny, with this passive play, is going to be able to get to those Liberators we were talking about, and then actually have a very good army. We're just going to have to wait and see. This is really weird, by the way, to see +2 weapons start before Stim finishes.
Yeah, that's gonna. I mean, there's so many Widow Mines though, so it might not be that bad. This is a crazy looking army out of Bunny that you just don't see as a normal composition, right?
Yeah.
But if these Widow Mines land any hits, they'll kill Adepts, they'll kill the Stalkers. Cyclones get the lock on for some kills, which is nice.
A lot of units to lose in the middle of the map. Well, I guess it wasn't so many units.
Potentially.
Yeah, it was potentially losing a lot of units because his pathing was messed up a little bit, as well as his entire army just wasn't there, so a little bit odd.
Widow Mines, Burrow, Stalkers. There's an observer.
Oh,
there's not enough Widow Mines to win this army fight though. Like they'd have to actually splash every single Stalker for this to be worth it.
Blink was on cooldown. That's a little scary.
By the way, just a quick summary of the bets. 14,367 on ShoWTimE to win. 10,710 on Bunny to win. So ShoWTimE heavily weighted in the series by the audience.
Come on now, audience. Be honest. Is it ShoWTimE or is it Protoss?
I would actually say ShoWTimE, believe it or not just this Protoss.
Yeah, he looked really strong in that last Dreamhack, but jokes aside, Bunny is pushed back to his base again, and ShoWTimE will be taking advantage of that by expanding. Now, once again, you can only expand so much and get to a huge army, but still not able to win the game before Liberators come out and you actually maybe have turned the game over to Terran. But
I just want to turn around, point out how much of a turnaround this was, by the way, for Bunny who had no stim with that +2 time on the way and all that stuff. Like this was scary, but now he's got 2-2 advantage in a moment. He's got stim, he's got combat shields, he's got all the tech in the world that he wants. There is a War Prism across the map. This is a big problem for Bunny. His Marines are rushing back to finish it off. It's so low on health. Kill the War Prism, not the Adepts.
Oh, that one Marine was trying, and the other Marines are just lazy.
Well, other side of the map looks like, ooh, a Stasis Ward actually caught over half of Bunny's army. Oh no, this means he can't protect the Widow Mines either. This base is getting dealt with, I guess. The War Prism got cleaned up. He's still got a lot of Adepts to kill. He's losing a lot of SCVs in this attack.
Yeah, and the army, I think, is too big for him to push in here and try and kind of all in, basically. Maybe. Some photon overcharges can go down. Okay, that one plan goes down beforehand.
I really like this Widow Mine setup. Like, you really can't push forward as Protoss in this situation to go for this Widow Mine.
Oh, Storm finish, by the way.
Well, there you go. Take that back. That's going to start changing it up quite a bit. Forces Bunny back up. Bunny doesn't know about the 4th base, by the way. I'm sure he would have just sniped that off, no problem. Leave the Widow Mines in his wake, but...
This is questionable attack for ShoWTimE. Well, it's a couple of medevacs, so maybe not.
Wouldn't getting an okay hitter too. The Archon goes down thanks to that splash damage and the bonus for shields, but another Stasis Ward catches that
These
army.
Stasis wards, honestly, without those first 2 Stasis wards, Bunny did have a very scary push.
Oh yeah.
That extra time bots, where there was, only like a third of the army actually moving around and attacking, was fairly important. In addition to the War Prism was also very
Just trying
important.
to time this out.
Both
of them are.
both of those things don't happen, and I think Bunny actually has already won the game. But he does have a very large army that ShoWTimE maybe wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Oh, his Wing Stalkers die.
He was really counting on getting free kills with that Stasis Trap, but the Immortal gonna get caught with concussive shells. It's slow. There's no escape. And as powerful as that War Prism attack was, Bunny was already kind of all-inning, and now he's just really set to do that. Again, picking off these pylons, not a problem with Marauders. The depths on the ground, a little bit scary for sure, but with these medevacs being what they are, actually out of energy, this is a little bit scary for Bunny, but his army still looks so freaking good, and the numbers are just on his side in such a big way.
Yeah.
Siege Tank, I didn't realize was in that mix.
Most of the supply is, of course, those workers. Sorry, I forgot the word. Bunny hasn't quite won yet. ShoWTimE, with that 4th base, does kind of have time on his side. He does need that big burst of production, though. He just needs a bigger army in general. Of course, Splash at this point would have really helped as well instead of Immortals if Disruptors had come out. If he had more High Templars, he did invest in the Storm. This could be different, but it was definitely a case of Bunny playing a good game, a good patient, passive game, as well as ShoWTimE maybe overextending 2 or 3 times too much.
Well, I mean, another big part of this is those upgrades. 2-2 is a phenomenal advantage over 1-0. So, I mean, Bunny having all that time sync up perfectly, sick. He played really scared in the early game because he thought there was going to be a bigger Adept all incoming. And even then, despite playing scared, he was able to pull this out. I mean, 4th base is mining for ShoWTimE. So he loses his 3rd. It's not so crazy. He does have decent mining, but he's got to get that army count up. 33 supply will never fight this Terran army. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he's tried to just barely be able to push this back, and every single time is barely not enough. Maybe if he had waited for 2 more Warpins instead of going when he did, he could have pushed it back. But that was just a well-played, patient game from Bunny, and maybe ShoWTimE did mess up here and there. But hey, that's what Bunny said. He wasn't confident in the matchup, but we were entirely confident he would automatically lose.
He messed up by not super